Have you ever wondered what it would be like if Trae Young had more help at the beginning of his career? Well, let's find out. Welcome to my brand new series. This is where I'm going to be trying to save NBA players' careers by giving them more teammates, more help, and more success. So basically, you guys will have to comment down below whether I saved the player's career or not. I'm going to be simulating this on a website called Basketball GM. I'm giving myself 5 seasons to do all this, and I'm going to be doing Trae Young first. To start off Trae's rookie season, I have Jeremy Lin next to him at the guard spot. I got Ken Bazemore, DeAndre Bembry, and then Alex Len at the 5. So the first thing I decided to do was I decided to give Kevin Huerter the starting spot over Jeremy Lin since he would be able to develop next to Trae Young. This let us start 2 young guards. With the rest of the roster, I had a lot of changes I needed to make. I started off with getting Markelle Fultz 10 games into the season. I needed a guy who can play backup minutes behind Trae Young. Fultz was perfect because he's young and also he still has a small contract. Next, I needed a big to come off the bench to grab rebounds. Our team was fairly small, so I got DeAndre Jordan for his size. Next, I made 2 whatever trades. I got Carmelo, then I traded him for Tyson Chandler because Carmelo started to regress. And I know you're wondering what happened to John Collins. He also started to dip early. So I decided he needed to come off the bench. During the rest of the regular season, our team started to click together really well. We actually started to win a couple 7-game win streaks. Unfortunately, Trae did not make an all-star team. He did average 17 points, 9 assists, and 3 rebounds. Pretty similar to the stats he averaged in his real rookie season. Our team ended the season with 45 wins and 37 losses, making the 4th seed. A huge difference from the original 2019 Hawks. Now came playoff time. Our first matchup was against the 5-seeded Boston Celtics. This is where talent started to show a little bit. Our team put up a good fight, but Trae ended up averaging less points than he did in the regular season, but he created more open looks for the rest of the team. This let us last through at least 6 games against a stacked Boston Celtics squad. Unfortunately, we did lose to the Celtics in the first round, which ended our season. Then came the 2019 draft. During the draft, we took Rui Hachimura 21st overall because he was the best available and we needed another wing. In free agency, we decided to keep Jeremy Lin and DJ, 2 valuable players coming off our bench. The biggest signing we made was pulling off a Kawhi signing. This was the Kawhi coming out of San Antonio. That makes this Trae Young's best teammate that he's ever played with in real life and in the simulation. But he is coming off an injury, so we're going to have to see how he holds up in year 2. We also made 1 minor trade for Joe Harris and Nick Claxton to add more depth. It's time for year 2. We had Trae Young in the starting lineup with Oladipo, Kawhi Leonard, Taurean Prince, and Domantas Sabonis at our 5. That's right, we made a big trade to start the season. Trading away Markelle Fultz and Rui Hachimura to get 2 all-star caliber players in Oladipo and Sabonis. Oladipo was a huge upgrade from Kevin Huerter in our starting lineup, and Sabonis is an improvement from Alex Len from last year. This was a real team to mess with in the Eastern Conference now. Now talent shouldn't be a problem. Now we can actually win some games. Only made 1 more trade by trading away Nick Claxton because he basically got pushed out the rotation because we added Sabonis and Len is now coming off our bench. Now this regular season was a little bit of a down year for Trae Young scoring wise, with him only averaging 13 points with 9 assists. But we did end up having way more success this season than last season. One of the biggest reasons we did have more success was Kawhi Leonard, and he ended up being our first All-Star of the simulation. We finished the season 53-29 as the 2 seed. Unfortunately, Trae Young did get injured with a sprained knee, which made him miss the first round. Luckily for us, Kawhi Leonard stepped up his game and we were able to beat the 7th seed Pistons in 6 games. Trae Young came back to play against the 6th-seeded Chicago Bulls in round 2. Trae and Kawhi came to dominate, which led us to sweeping the Chicago Bulls, and we got to make our first Eastern Conference Finals. Now we had a real chance of actually making the finals for the first time. All that was left in our way was the 4th-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Overall, we were the better team, with us winning 8 more games than them in the regular season. Bad luck struck. In Game 2, Kawhi Leonard injured his ankle. With Trae Young not having enough help, he also had a bad performance, which led to our downfall, and we lost in 5 games against the Bucks. With us being 1 injury away from the finals, this was a bad ending for what was a good season. Once the draft came around, we were ready to win games. We drafted older guys in the draft like Obi Toppin and Malachi Flynn. Then we traded away Aaron Holiday for Jayshawn Tate. Also, comment how many times I make a trade with the Pacers in this video, because I know there's a couple. Once free agency came around, we decided to keep Collins, Prince, and Sabonis, 3 big pieces for our team. We made a swap with the Raptors for Malcolm Brogdon from a fit perspective. He turned out to be a secondary ball handler next to Trae Young, and was a way better playmaker than Oladipo. And at this point, he was a higher overall than Oladipo too. Hopefully this lets Trae Young have more scoring opportunity this season instead of having to play make more often. We only needed one more thing, and that was somebody who was good at perimeter defense. So we decided to add Patrick Beverley for his grit and his defense. Alright, to start off year 3, similar to last year, instead of Oladipo, we have Brogdon at the 2. One minor trade, getting rid of Malachi Flynn for Jalen Adams to Miami. The regular season started off amazing. We became the best team in the East, with us having a 13-game win streak at one point. This was also the best season from Trae Young individually. He averaged 17 points and 11 assists. With Malcolm Brogdon taking over the playmaking load, Trae Young had more opportunity to play off ball, so everything worked out in the backcourt. Once again, Kawhi Leonard made his second All-Star appearance with the Hawks, as well as Trae Young making his first All-Star appearance. We came here to win games. We finished 56-29 as the best team in the Eastern Conference. In the playoffs, we were awaiting our revenge against the now 8th-seeded Milwaukee Bucks, the team that beat us and took us out the playoffs the year prior. We ended up winning in 6 games and we moved on to the second round, where we were now faced with the Philadelphia 76ers. And then tragedy struck once again. At the end of Game 6 against the Milwaukee Bucks, Kawhi Leonard suffered an injury, which took him out the next series. So Trae Young was left all by himself to take on the scoring load. In came the 4th-seeded Philadelphia 76ers. We had nothing that could stop Joel Embiid. Sabonis got dominated, which caused us to get swept out the second round, not living up to expectations once again. In the offseason, there was very little moves to be done, so I pretty much decided just to run it back one more time. For the 2022 starting lineup, I decided to keep Trae Young in the starting lineup and benched Malcolm Brogdon, instead for Bogdan Bogdanovic. Brogdon started to regress, and I thought Bogdan was a better option. And as usual, we had Kawhi Leonard and a new addition, Jabari Parker, with Sabonis at the 5 again. We had to give up a declining John Collins, Patrick Beverley, and an old Jeremy Lin to get Jabari Parker and Kyle Kuzma in return. Kyle Kuzma ended up being a way more productive piece than John Collins was off the bench. Then we decided to sign a veteran big man in James Johnson, and that was it for all the roster changes. Trae Young had a great season individually, but for the team, not so much. Our team had a significant drop-off and we weren't fighting with the top teams of the East anymore. And the team just wasn't meshing as well anymore. Big men became too dominant and we had no answer for them. Once again, Kawhi Leonard made the All-Star team again, and Trae Young made the All-Star team again, averaging a double-double, 19 points and 11 assists. We ended the season 41-41 as the 9th seed, meaning we fell into the play-in tournament. we had to face the 10-seeded Washington Wizards in the first matchup. And we came to dominate. We blew them out 100-70. In the next game against the Miami Heat, Kawhi Leonard and Trae Young came to play, where we beat the Heat 94-87. Where Trae Young scored 32 points and we pulled out to make the playoffs. We ended up having to face the number 1 seeded Toronto Raptors. This was a dangerous matchup for us because they were way more well-rounded and they had a deeper roster. We were no match for the Raptors. We only ended up taking one game, and that was game 2, and then we were punched in the face and we lost in 5. We were knocked out the playoffs again. The 2022 draft wasn't really that big for us anyways, so we went on to free agency where we signed Trae Young to a max contract to continue with the team. But coming into year 5, I knew this was our last chance to get a ring. We had to make it count, so we made a blockbuster trade. We traded for superstar Kevin Durant from the Golden State Warriors, but we had to give up Kawhi Leonard in return. At this point, Kevin Durant was getting a little bit older, but it's still Kevin Durant. As long as he could give us enough production, we would be fine to compete in the East again. In the final year, we started Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Kevin Durant, Kyle Kuzma, and Domantas Sabonis. Not many moves were made to the roster after this. Once again, Trae Young had a phenomenal performance, 20 points per game, 9 assists. He was proving that he could win games and score. Of course, he made the All-Star team again, along with Domantas Sabonis, who made a dramatic improvement this season. Our entire team stepped up and we were able to finish as a 2 seed, winning 57 games. We were ready for the Battle of the East. We destroyed the 7 seed Chicago Bulls, and we had our eyes on the prize. After sweeping the Chicago Bulls, we were faced with Philadelphia once again. This time they were the 3 seed and we were the 2 seed. Durant was not playing like his usual self this time around. Just like in the past seasons, we had no match for big man Joel Embiid. Trae Young was able to score 2 back-to-back 40-point games in Game 1 and Game 2, and we were only able to take 2 games from them. Then he was injured in Game 3. Philly dominated the rest of the series, and Year 5 ended in another loss against the 76ers in 6 games. And the challenge is over. So here's the results after all 5 years. The new career ended up having a little bit more accolades than the original, but the jump in win total and playoffs dramatically was different. With the new career not having missed the playoffs once, he was also able to place higher in the standings than the original. Now it's up to you guys. Comment down below, did I manage to save Trae Young's career? Thank you for making it to the end, and remember, you're chillin' if you're from the 3.
I'ma go get it, they waiting for buses. I've been taking L's and I lost they lessons. To get your money, I got an obsession. If trap is a sport, then it'll be my profession. To tell you the truth, I don't got no confessions. I don't know why lately I feel aggression. I'ma go get it, they waiting for blessings. I keep taking L's and I lost they lessons.